Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fan Behavior and F1 Podcast. I'm Zoe. I'm back with Hannah.
Hi, everyone.
We are reunited. It's been too long.
It's been so long. I mean, we did see each other on Friday.
No, I know, but recording.
Oh, recording. Yeah, I've just been I have just felt like I fell off the face of the earth. I'm so out of touch with
life.
Of the Formula One.
Well, you're back,
world.
and what a race!
Back.
What a race to return for.
Yeah,
well,
a busy weekend.
It was like kind of and then it wasn't.
And then it wasn't.
You know, it wasn't.
And then it really wasn't.
It really wasn't. It was genuinely one of the more shocking races we've had.
Yeah.
In Formula One in a long time.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
The two leaders basically not, I mean, I know Max finished the race, but the two leaders crashing out essentially I can't remember the last time that's happened.
Well, me neither. And a lot of it is because, you know,
they were fighting each other.
But for a really long time, Max wasn't close enough to anybody to have something like that happen.
Right. We'll obviously get into everything. We're going to go in chronological order because there's a lot to get into with the sprint. I honestly forgot. I think it wasn't until maybe even like Thursday night or Friday morning that I think it was Thursday. And I was like, oh yeah, it's a sprint weekend.
Yeah.
Because I'd forgotten
I felt very
about
overwhelmed
sprint
by that
quali
on my return.
Yeah. It just hits you like a ton of, I mean, I like a sprint for the action.
Yeah, sure.
I guess, but it's also just kind of overwhelming and having to sort of.
Well, and usually Friday, I'm not dialed in. And I couldn't. I mean, I still wasn't engaged on Friday, but I had a lot to catch up on yesterday.
But you went back. Right. But before we get into all of that, we obviously have some like news and stuff to get into. I also want to celebrate our 2-year podcast anniversary.
Guys, we're 2 years old.
We didn't get to celebrate it together. We were in on different coasts.
Quite literally.
For our 2-year anniversary birthday. I don't know. Is it an anniversary or is it a birthday?
I think it's a birthday because it was born.
It was born. Yeah, that's very true. So that was really exciting. We both, I had texted you about it, and then like 10 seconds later, my dad texts both of us.
So nice.
I didn't even tell. I didn't know that he knew. So thank you, Dad.
What a guy. It was so sweet and I didn't have his phone number, but we had the same area code. So I was like, oh, this has got to be her dad. And then it was. But I was just like,
I don't know how he got your phone number.
That's such a good point.
I can ask him.
Didn't occur to me.
I didn't give it to him. Or maybe he had it from some other thing. Who knows? But he got it. So thanks for the
That's so funny. That never
out.
Occurred to me how he got it.
Yeah, I have no idea.
That's funny. Did your mom have my phone number?
Potentially. Who knows? Who's to say?
Maybe when we were expecting that shipment.
Maybe. I don't know if you sent it to her.
No, because I don't have her phone number.
I didn't give it to her.
Zoe's dad, please let me know how you got my number.
You can call him Glenn.
That's detective level stuff.
Or actually, I don't know if you can.
I didn't know what we were allowed to say about his identity on the podcast.
Yeah, sorry. Never mind. Disregard that I even said that. Okay. So the two kind of big news stories was Pierre Gasly re-signing with Alpine. Mm-hmm. Not a shock.
No, but I'm glad it's confirmed.
Yeah, happy for him.
Especially in the wake of his teammates' demise. Yeah,
departure. There were some...
So much better word, thank you.
There were some... I think questions about whether or not he would stick around or try to find a different seat. And I think when Alpine was really struggling at the beginning of the season, I think he was probably looking for another seat. But they've seemed to improve, gotten better. And it makes sense for him. You can be the leader of the team.
Yeah.
They clearly favor you, like you.
And just they're improving, and the dynamic is going to be different next year.
Yes, exactly. So. Still no word as to who his teammate will be. Carlos apparently is also now.
I said today, because I'm sorry, I know that it's not about this, but the haircut really threw me for one. There's just something about when a boy gets a new haircut.
It's not good. Well, it depends on the haircut.
It depends on the haircut, but I would say 85% of the time, it takes them about a week to grow out to a respectable place. And that's just, it is what it is. There's, it's not wrong. I just don't think I had really seen it until the interview. But anyway, I was saying my mom watched the race with me today.
Oh, nice.
Which was nice. But I was talking about, I'm like, it's just so annoying because she was like, where is he going next year? I said, I don't know, but I need him to tell us so that the other dominoes can fall because I'm tired of waiting on him to make a decision.
I know. It's just, I said I reposted the post that said that Carlos is potentially looking at Alpine, and I said that I'm like genuinely getting tired of this, and a lot of people seem to agree. And I know I've talked a lot about my Carlos fatigue on this podcast.
Yeah.
But it is in full-on overdrive.
Sure.
And listen, I understand this is a big deal. It's a big move. It's for your future. There's a lot of things to consider. But at some point...
And obviously the press is going to pick it up. Like, I get it. But it's just like, can you just let us know when he made a choice?
Or honestly, part of me wants some other team to just diverge. So for someone to just be like, okay, you're not deciding?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to make a decision and we're going to...
I wonder if he's on deadline with any of them.
Well,
I mean, Williams probably not, but like, because if we go through all this and he ends up with Sauber, I'm just gonna be so bored by that.
I know, it's tough. It's a tough thing all around.
But whatever, we are where we are.
But
then the other big piece of re-signing news,
huge. I mean, it was actually
I couldn't believe.
I was completely shocked. I was
jaw on the floor.
I actually like got on my hands and knees and kind of screamed.
Yeah, I was like, this was so unexpected. Lance Stroll re-signed to drive in at Aston Martin. Guys, I just never saw it coming.
Truly the shock of silly season. I mean,
it didn't even deserve a post.
Lewis to Ferrari, who? Like, this was...
saw that coming. This was just so out of the blue.
So out of the blue. So crazy.
Sorry, Emma.
Yeah. I mean, it is... She can't even dispute.
100%.
Yeah, Lance is back with Aston Martin. Honestly, in defense of Lance, or in to his credit, he has done fairly well this season.
Yeah.
He has not had he has been up there. You could say Fernando's kind of fallen off a bit. But he's
locked in for life.
But he has done, I think, a decently solid job. Aside from those, obviously we talk about the hitting Daniel, that debacle, and just kind of how he didn't take responsibility for that action. But
also just shocking.
Yeah. But other than that, he's done a decently good job. So,
and
listen,
data feedback is invaluable, as we know.
100%. Well, where would they be without that? I also don't know if you saw that Helmet was kind of running his mouth a little bit
about
Daniel and Liam.
I saw a little bit about it.
Yeah, and basically saying like, RB needs to go back to being a junior team, which means that Liam needs to get in the car soon. So Helmet is pro, and obviously Helmet is, because Helmet is in charge of the Red Bull driving program. So his priority is to get Red Bull juniors into these seats. That's what his goal is. That's what he's wanting. But unfortunately for Helmet, he doesn't make the decisions at Red Bull.
Right.
So I can understand him wanting Liam. I mean, and we'll get into Checo later, but I feel like some problems, it's all kind of a mess. The whole situation is a mess, because I do agree that Liam deserves to be in Formula One.
I do.
But also, like, recently and truthfully in the last month or so, Daniel has done very well. And it's actually, I feel like maybe since, you could say, I mean, Miami, it's been up and down, but I think he is performing decently well enough to get re-signed, at least as of right now. And he's also, Daniel Ricciardo brings in money, brings in other things that maybe Liam can't bring because he's still so young. So it's a tricky position to be in.
Yeah.
But
and I can also see if genuinely the goal is that, or the Red Bull's opinion is that they need to make it a junior team again for whatever reason, then it makes sense. But like, you don't have to be disparaging about Daniel for that, because Daniel's not a junior driver. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, was Helmet outright like talking shit on Daniel, or was he just saying Liam might go into because I've heard too that they've talked, there's rumors that Daniel will be replaced mid-season, which I think what a waste of time. You guys are going through so much other nonsense. You certainly don't need to deal with that right now.
That's not gonna, I really do not believe that that's going to happen. I mean, he is performing well enough. He's performing well enough to get re-signed, let alone I mean, why would you do that?
It just seems like
it seems unnecessary.
Plus all the photo
I mean, yeah, exactly. But I think, Daniel seems to be handling it well. And he said, and this is, how I feel too, like he basically was like, it's just going to be what it's going to be. Like, I can do what I can do, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is,
yeah.
you know?
And in his mind too, like, what he's doing right now wasn't maybe ever supposed to happen.
Right.
Like, he maybe never
He's on
saw
borrowed
this
time.
happening again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting one. I kind of wonder, like, if I know we kind of talked and understood why Checo got re-signed. Part of me wonders if that was, I still wonder if they did that too soon. But I don't know that they would put, well, I know, but not for, I'm saying it in the sense that, like, obviously, quote unquote, Daniel would move into that seat. But I'm not, I don't even necessarily mean that anymore. But anyway.
We can get to Checo later.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't matter because he signed a well, maybe the contract doesn't matter. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, does anything matter in Formula One?
That's such a good point.
I'm not so sure.
It doesn't.
Okay, let's just get, because again, lots to cover. Let's get to sprint quali. So
boring.
Logan gets into SQ2.
Yeah.
First, I don't know. I think he did out qualify Alex I remember because we were there. I think he out qualified Alex in the sprint quali in Miami as well. But he's never out qualified him in the actual race qualifying. And they only count race qualifying in the head to head.
Brilliant
matchups. But good job, Logan, getting into SQ2.
Yep. Bernie's back. Didn't watch the last two races.
Okay.
So I didn't know if she was back before then, but I was thrilled to hear her voice.
Yes. I think you just missed one race. You just missed Barcelona. Yeah. Yeah.
I did see quali though, and I was squealing in a diner with my whole family watching qualifying.
That was great. Very strange RB. Do we want to call them RB or V carb?
Everyone else calls them RB, so maybe just to not confuse the listener.
Okay.
I mean, they're brilliant, but I just don't want to get them confused.
RB, Daniel barely getting out in Q1, and then Yuki, I think he kind of damaged his floor. He had a little bit of an incident. Getting out in Q2 and then them qualifying like 16th and 14th. I don't know because you missed last week's race, but they had upgrades that were really downgrades. They were both absolutely not. I mean, I think Yuki finished the race last week P19 and Daniel was P15. And so it was just like, what? And they've been trying old parts on their car. They've been mixing and matching and putting on the new stuff and then trying it with some older stuff and testing things out and trying to figure out what's the best setup for the car. And they clearly didn't figure it out in the sprint. They were just very much like, on the back.
That's another reason I'm having a hard time with this conversation about Daniel, because there's so clearly something going on with the vehicle they're driving. Right. Even though Yuki is at times performing better than Daniel, we've got problems. It's not like he's driving the Red Bull and ending up next to Logan. You know what I mean? No offense, Logan.
Well, they're clearly like in a learning phase and trying to figure
rebuilding year.
or just like there's question marks around the car and they're both trying to figure out what's going on. And so, and they're both trying different things. One person might be on one setup, one person might be on a different setup. So it's harder to kind of gauge fully. But anyway, Alpine is definitely improving, getting better every single week.
Yep.
Congratulations to them on their...
And the Chiefs.
I said Aston Martin has really like disappeared off into the distance.
Honestly, haven't really thought about them much. I mean, in the race there was some stuff just because they were causing havoc, but otherwise pretty invisible.
I think the biggest story of sprint quali was Charles in the final lap having anti-stall and not making it to the line in time to start his final lap. That
was in qualifying.
Oh, was it in qualifying?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh,
because I wrote it in my qualifying notes.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that sucked.
I don't know if it was. Was it?
No. So in SQ3, Charles was coming out of the pit lane and didn't something happened with his car. I think he had to restart his car in the pit lane.
That's what I'm talking about.
Excuse me.
Yes,
I misheard you.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's correct.
Okay.
That did happen.
Okay, good. I was going to say.
I said Charles is out ? Wait, JK.
Yeah, but he didn't make it to the line in time to start his time.
I'm sorry. When you said line, I'm picturing the track limits line, not the...
Sorry, I meant...
we're dialed in. I'm a new sports fan.
No, again, there's a lot to remember. Yeah, so he didn't get there in time to start his lap time. which was unfortunate. And then
in the beginning of the end, really.
And I think both Pierre and Esteban and maybe Checo like barely made it to the line. And wasn't Checo, what was the time difference between him and Max?
A lot.
Was it like 1 second?
1.3.
Yeah. So that's the other thing,
Far
which
away.
is Austria is a very short track. So
which I really like.
Everyone's obviously a lot closer in time because shorter track, it makes sense. And so if a 0.2 gap is going to be a much bigger gap in Austria than it would be on a different track that's a lot longer. So an over second gap is quite substantial.
It's gross
and unfortunate for him. But
at least
Max,
he was in Q3.
That's very, very, very true. Max got pole 3 or got pole 3, got pole, which of course he did.
Well, not of course.
Not of course.
It's not guaranteed anymore.
But I feel like he was pretty dominating
one,
in quali, and it was Lando and Oscar, correct? Okay. Anything else from sprint quali?
No, I thought it was pretty boring.
Yeah, it was fine. There wasn't anything crazy that happened.
No.
Okay, to the sprint. So
my first and only note. Oh, the sprint. Pardon me. Scrolling.
Going in order.
I'm at the sprint notes now.
So McLaren fighting Max. That was exciting.
Yes.
Lando putting the pressure on Max. Lando passing Max, and then Max passing Lando again.
Yeah.
Kind of
making me nervous.
Kind of I don't want to say rookie mistake from Lando. It wasn't a rookie mistake, but Lando needs to, I think his next evolution is when he does make a pass to really close the door, because then when
he's
Max
overeager.
Max caught him, and then Oscar ended up in that kind of fight. Oscar ended up getting into second, and Lando fell back into third.
Yeah,
and it was kind of a I don't know. I feel like Lando, there's just moments and times where I feel like he just, not because he's a great driver, but there's just, he makes these tiny little mistakes that kind of end up costing him a win or one position or something like that. And other people tend to capitalize off of it. And I feel like he had to have been really pissed at himself.
I'm sure.
Do you have anything to say about that battle?
It's just fun. I think for me, I'm just excited that Max is involved in anything interesting right now and not just flying away.
Yeah. Thank God.
So even if it's
take what you can
rookie,
get.
100%.
Totally.
Plus they're fun to watch beef with each other.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They're just whiny rats with each other. It's funny.
Magnussen was keeping the whole grid backed up, and I said, no way. It was because I think it
was as unbelievable as the Lance Stroll's news.
Yeah, it was K-Mag holding up everybody else. Word.
Never seen
crazy. I always, and we had this in the race, anytime we get Pierre and Esteban side by side, one after the other, I just love it. I want Alpine battles every single week.
Yeah, they're fun. I think it's crazy that they're allowed.
Well, what are they going to do? Fire Esteban?
That's exactly what they said on that. What are they going to do? Fire him again? But if they both crash, and this was more in the race for me, there was a moment, I'm like, if you guys both go out, no one wins, you're just assholes.
Yeah, but
I know.
Again, they have a point.
I'm not going
to
to pretend to understand the mindset of them in the car next to their enemy. Frenemy, whatever.
Enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to.
The graphics disappeared.
I didn't. But I was just like, why are we here? I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Because again, it's when you are at the race, you forget, if you haven't seen a race in real life, that and they actually talked about it a lot today because of different things that were going on. But you could have Max or Carlos behind Max or whatever. I'm just throwing out random stuff. But Carlos is in P18.
He's a lap down.
Yeah.
Right,
and you just have no idea.
Yeah.
I was just okay. I started playing a game on my phone until it came back.
What was funny was it came back and everything was the same. Nothing had changed.
Right. Yeah, everything was fine. But I felt like I couldn't. A piece of me felt gone.
I felt like the sprint this week was just kind of a little snoozer.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, nothing really. And I felt like it was just.
start was aborted. We didn't talk about that.
Oh, right. Because the photographers were in the way. So
they did an extra formation lap. So then they had to. The sprint was a lap less, correct?
Yes. Which is it's already a sprint. It's already so short. It's just.
I know, but they're all very specific.
I know. You got to keep the rules.
Know?
I know. I appreciate that. I appreciate the rule.
Plus, the extra lap wouldn't have made it less boring.
I don't think it would have changed anything. We also, we didn't have Crofty this week. We had Harry Benjamin.
Yeah.
Did you hear him say Sublime?
I did. I'm so glad you caught it too.
Yes, I wrote down. Oh my God, he said Sublime.
He did. It made me really
for those
happy.
who missed it. That was we had to pick an A word technically.
I picked ambitious, right?
Yeah, I think so. But you had picked. You had said also like just in case.
Oh, Sublime
and Spielberg.
Yeah,
and he said Sublime.
He must listen to the pod.
Just think
Hi, Harry.
We have people that are listening in. I mean, and that's a very, Miracle in Miami or whatever. That stuff is much more obvious.
Yeah.
I can't remember what words
Generic.
we picked for Canada, but there was some other
chaos.
Yeah, those things are, it makes sense. Sublime is a very specific word.
It is. And I do think that the English might use it more often.
That's true.
So I tried.
That's true.
I went through all of this delusion in my head of like, was that for us?
Yes.
Harry Benjamin doesn't know who we are.
You never know.
He does a great job. I miss Crofty, but he does a really good job.
I mean, his saying is foot to the floor. I miss lights out and away we go.
Yeah.
Does
Crofty have that trademarked?
I don't know. He should, and it makes sense. He skipped this race. Obviously, it's a triple header, so you get a week off, and then you have next week Silverstone. Of course, he's going to be there for Silverstone. Of
course. I understand. We all need time off. Yeah. I just came back from it. I totally get it.
We all do. I was glad that we had Martin though, because I feel like the last race Crofty had off. I can't remember who was with him with Harry, but I don't think it was Martin. I feel like it was somebody else. Maybe I could be wrong about that, but I was happy to at least have Martine.
What I need is for
Nico
Martine to go on a
Nico Rosberg.
Vacay, and I love Martin.
Yeah, me too.
But there was just simply nothing like Nico Rosberg and Crofty.
That was just an elite lineup.
That was sublime.
That was sublime.
to quote Harry.
Also, Nico Rosberg, after we had like the Jacques Villeneuve, Daniel hatred and stuff like that, Nico Rosberg, true Daniel Ricciardo stan. Do you remember he kept complimenting Daniel that whole week, and he was like, "Guys, can we just take a moment to applaud Daniel?"
Where credit's due.
I was like, "Thank you, Nico."
Yeah,
he was just at Taylor Swift, by the way. Nico, yeah, with his wife.
That's
and I think his daughters. Bring Nico back.
Also, I jumped here, but I really thought the Mahomes were going to be there.
I know I think they seem to be in Austria.
Yeah,
they're in the mountains.
Giving Austria, but it could be Switzerland.
So I don't know why they didn't go. It seems like something.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're an Alpine investor, sir. Like, get your ass there.
For us.
For us. Anything else from the sprint you want to discuss? Okay.
My last note was where the hell's the clock? So
happy for Oscar to get P2.
Yeah.
That was great. Obviously got P2 again in the race, but much better weekend from Oscar. Okay, qualifying.
Yes. My first and only note is fucking clackers, but it auto-corrected to crackers.
Wait, what about him?
I don't remember.
Oh.
He did.
Well, he barely got it. He barely
that
got
might have
it
been
out of Q1, I want to say. No? Am I wrong about that?
He didn't get out of Q1.
No, he did. He got into Q3.
I must have taken the picture at the wrong time.
Okay.
Because in Q1 here it says he was 12. I'm sorry. I was ahead one qualifying session.
Well, Lance got out in Q1. That was tough.
All the excitement from the announcement.
Yeah. Aston Martin again, just where the hell are you, bruh?
But yeah, Checo, I mean, given all the things, and I know they did better this weekend, but Checo is again behind the quote unquote junior team.
No, he was
Q1.
Oh, but he ended up qualifying. I think he finished P7 or something, P8. I don't remember.
But I'm just not willing to.
I know. Well,
make up excuses for him.
I was gonna say Daniel barely missed out on Q3. It was like 7,000ths of a second to Esteban. That had to hurt pretty bad.
Yeah.
But a much better performance from them after their sprint qualifying and like to barely get out in Q2. And he out-qualified Yuki, which I think he needed to do. And then I made this is kind of jumping ahead, but Max being able to get pole by 0.4 of a second, like almost half a second to the person who got P2 is insane. Again, and on a track where like the gap should not be that big. Yeah. Very crazy.
Very crazy.
Charles Leclerc, I think I broke everything under the car.
Like, yeah, obviously.
I love him so much.
And I just love that he felt like he had to share that information.
He just
as
makes
if
me
everyone
laugh
at home didn't know, or like in the garage.
So hard. Like things I don't think he meant to be funny.
He was not laughing. No. It was definitely frustration.
But it was
broke everything under
it was just very hilarious to me. And then Oscar qualifying P3 and then losing his time.
Sucks.
And you know what? So we talked about track limits, how or especially last year, Austria, there was track limits like left all the time.
Yeah.
And they added in like the particular part of the track where there was the most track limits infringements, they added a gravel trap, which basically at that point, you shouldn't then enforce track there should not then be track limits, because there is no advantage if you're getting
to the gravel.
If you're getting a part of your car in the gravel, that's not going to give you speed.
Right.
And so actually McLaren like tried to lodge a protest against the time being taken away, and some other drivers came to Oscar's defense, like I think Daniel did, and was basically like,
Aussies.
Yeah, they got to stick together.
Bet Carlos didn't.
People were saying like they were replaying the the quote that Oscar had when Lance hit Daniel, and they were telling Oscar like Lance claimed it was because everyone had to brake, and Oscar was like, yeah, but nobody else ran into each other. And then Daniel defending Oscar, it's like, yeah, they're in it together.
Brothers.
Even Oscar, replacing Daniel, it doesn't matter.
No,
they're locked in like
Daniel
this.
was living in hell.
He was.
So Oscar is his savior in a lot of ways, and so he just needs to help where he can.
Really was his savior.
Yeah.
So true.
Also, Lewis took something with him from the garage. Did you see that?
No.
Oh yeah, he was driving out. I think he took part of like the fuel thing and then a jack, like as he turned out of the car.
It like got caught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think he ended up getting penalized for an unsafe release, which is good.
I think that's always kind of crazy when it's something like that,
because it's not no one else. I mean,
I guess you could say it's the team's fault.
Yeah, but there weren't any other teams that were going to be affected by what happened. It was just comical.
So yeah,
sure
unfortunate for Oscar, and really that could have been the reason that Oscar did not win the race, was because of that time deletion, because I think then he went down to P7 or something.
Yeah,
and George got promoted to P3, and that that really could have been the difference.
What's that on that?
Anything else from qualifying you wanted to touch on? No. Good performance. I should give a shout out. Good performance by Nico Hülkenberg.
Yeah,
qualifying P9.
He's qualifying really well. Really.
And Austria tends to be a pretty good track for Haas. Like over the years, they've done well there. So, and they continue to do well there this weekend. So congratulations.
I can't believe you had Kevin this week.
I know.
I'm happy for you.
I got lucky.
I didn't.
I know. Well, you still got points from the sprint.
I
know. Okay, to the race. Just want to shout out Daniel's 250th Grand Prix. Big achievement. That's a lot of races. So he's getting up there in age, and that's just congratulations. Okay, so we start out lights out, and Charles Leclerc immediately front wing damage. Tough. Typical. Yeah. I mean,
especially after he broke everything under his car.
I feel like we always talk about Carlos Sainz. I feel like Carlos is quite lucky.
Yeah.
I feel like the Monaco situation, when he got that puncture, but then they ended up having to restart the race and he got to go back to his spot. He basically, because of the Lando and Max situation, he gets himself a podium.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like Charles Leclerc is...
No. I mean, when we're talking about luck, we're at opposite ends of the spectrum with those two.
Very tough. I mean...
Carlos has a rabbit foot up his butt, and Chuck destroyed someone's life, and they've put a hex on him. It's really sad, because he's such a sweet boy. He didn't, He is. He's had a lot of loss. He's just trying to be out here living his dream.
Right. And you can't even say it's like, oh, well, it's because he's so good looking. I mean, so is Carlos, right?
Right.
Now...
That's big of you to say during your fatigue.
Well, I
know.
My fatigue has never been.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly. My fatigue has never been with his physical appearance.
Yeah, I know.
It's only his personality.
Yeah, totally fair. Some people just don't have it all, you know.
True. It's just one of those things where, like, you know, I think we've said this before. Like, there are certain people where they could do like the craziest thing, or like be like the most cringe, but like it just doesn't bother you at all. Mm-hmm. And then there's other people where they just like put a foot wrong and you're just like, disgusting.
You're nasty. Yes. There's this, okay, so really quick on icks, because I don't really find a lot of icks, and people, I don't know, it's just not something that stands out. But I've been watching Love Island, and there's this guy, Ronnie, who's an ick, but there's like 3 girls fighting over him, and it's very confusing. But he sits, the way he like sits, he like kind of curls up his legs and points his toes like on the daybeds with the girls, and is like flipping his glasses, and I'm just like, I hate everything about you and what you're doing.
Like we talked about how, you know, in Austin, when Daniel does like his weird ass facial hair,
yeah,
that gives most people, they're like, disgusting.
Yeah, no, you put it in the calendar. Wait for it annually.
I'm like, I love this about him.
So charming. Love that about him.
Meanwhile, like, Carlos says one thing on the radio, and I'm like,
hey,
you're done.
Never look in my direction. Stop speaking. I don't even care if you
or
drive
like Daniel barks on the radio. I'm like, I love you.
That. I'm gonna set that as my alarm. It's true, you know.
That's just how it is. It's just how it is. And so Charlotte, I don't know why we got there, but Charles Leclerc,
bad luck, good luck.
I guess he just never.
He's unlucky.
Yeah, he's unlucky. I don't know how we got to icks from that though. Is what I'm trying to say, but.
It was fun though.
Anyway,
I like the journey.
Tough for Charles, and he was just pitting all the time. It was just like pit stop. Yeah. They also were. His team was like, "You're gonna get points."
I mean, he was nearly there, but
where did he finish?
11.
Oh, okay.
But that's why I was like, I
mean, I guess he finished 11th though because Max and Lando.
Yeah, because I was like,
or Lando.
Right. That's a good point. But I was like, you're like. You know more than I do, sure. Right? You're in charge of what's going on. And although you're not, you know, killing it, you know more than I do. But how's that going to work? Yeah. And then, especially with all the pit stops. And then, you know, he wasn't P18.
Exactly. Fernando runs into the back of Joe.
He did do that.
Like, give Joe a break. This
Please.
man is just...
He's just... Okay, I was actually thinking about this before today. He is just the least problematic human being. Totally. He needs to be protected at all costs. Totally. I respect that he maybe doesn't deserve to be in this sport anymore.
Yep.
But if he does get re-signed, no qualms from me.
Okay, but you would have qualms, let's say, if it was between, I mean, is there a drive, like if it was Joe or Valtteri, are you going to want Joe to get it over Valtteri?
No. Or
are you going to want Joe to get it over Liam Lawson? Let's just pretend.
No.
There.
But I think for me, it's this. I like if we're talking paid driver.
Yeah.
Dynamics,
of course.
I just he doesn't cause harm to others.
No, he does not cause harm to others.
And I just really appreciate that.
Yeah,
because others in his position cannot say the same.
Well, have you heard the rumors that Logan's going to IndyCar next year?
Yeah, which I'm really excited about. I think would be great. People are listening to the podcast.
Yeah, I think that would be so great for him, and I would love to see Logan in IndyCar. And I kind of feel the same way about Joe. Like, yeah. I don't know that he's necessarily interested in like American racing. Yeah. But I feel like he would.
I don't know if he'd love Indianapolis, but
yeah, that's true.
I mean, I guess he could live in Nashville, but I don't think he'd like it that much either.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he's more of a Formula E guy or something, like more of the European centric lifestyle. But I would like to see him still.
Yeah, racing. I don't want to lose him in the
he's like sport. I do enjoy him, and I feel like, and also him and Valtteri on social media
funny
are hilarious.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that too, because the one video they were doing where the gal was like kicking the bottle and Valtteri was trying to catch it, hilarious. And I feel like we talked at the very beginning when Steak Kick Sauber got, like, you know, they revamped whatever. I was really concerned about the social
Very good.
Knocked it out of the park.
one where they like rise back up, and then the one. Did you see the one where they have the same phone? They got the same phone background. Valtteri and Joe have the same phone background. Like, I don't know. They're just funny. They're willing to just go for it, commit to the bits.
Yeah,
and
it's very creative. And let's just not forget the Uber Eats commercial.
Totally. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with Valtteri. I'm very curious to see. I know. I'm curious too, because I think
it seems like he still wants to stay.
He does. He'd also be great in IndyCar, and he would be
fun in IndyCar.
And he would love being. I think he would love being in the States.
Yeah.
Just with all of like his other activities that he likes to do.
Yeah.
There were a lot of penalty. Like Lewis gets a penalty for crossing the pit line. Crossing the line at the pit lane. I think Alex got the same penalty. What did Checo get a penalty for? Was it speeding in the pit lane?
Yes.
So lots of penalties back and forth.
Fernando's penalty was
hitting Joe.
Yeah, okay.
That was 10 seconds. I think everyone else's was 5.
Mm-hmm.
Pierre and Esteban having their little battle, and then Pierre saying
ciao. Iconic.
Kind of. I mean, and again we go back to I am pro Pierre Gasly, so I love it.
Yes,
but
that's so fair.
If it was somebody else, I'd be like, I hate you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I think we all...
And that's the human condition.
I think we all need to acknowledge our own biases and how we allow it to affect what goes on in the race.
And the context of how we perceive something.
Yes, 100%.
Because if Ocon said ciao, I'd punch a hole in the TV. And that's just where I'm at personally. And that's fine. So if you wanted to punch Pierre,
it's totally fine. It's totally
valid.
To me, it was
that
hilarious.
wasn't my experience. Ciao. I was cackling. My mom was like, "What's funny?" I'm like, "Again."
I'm surprised he didn't say au revoir.
Yeah. Well, so
it's too obvious.
It's his language of origin.
Gotta keep it fresh. Gotta say something different.
Yeah. Ciao for now.
Ciao for now. That made me laugh.
And then something fell off Ocon's car.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Did he like hit a bump or something?
Maybe. And that could have been why because he fell back a little bit, and I don't know if there was ended up being damage on his car, but so then it was kind of, I wouldn't say it was like super, especially up at the front. It wasn't the most interesting until we get the slow Red Bull pit stop, which we always say never, ever, ever happens. Red Bull are always on it with the pit stops, but really not this one. It was like 6.5 seconds, which was basically the gap between Lando and Max. And so they're
awesome.
Lando's right into Max's DRS, and it's just like, okay, now it's on. And boy, oh boy, are they just bickering back and forth.
I mean, it was a little bit like Pierre and Esteban.
Yeah, worse, honestly.
Kinda, yeah.
Because Lando is saying, Max is moving when I move, this, that, the other. They're just squabbling. Mm-hmm. But it was fun because they were
so much fun.
Challenging each other.
Yeah. And I think it's been, for a long time, I feel like people would always talk about how like disrespectful and arrogant and just like chatty Max is in like not a nice way. Yeah. And I saw that sometimes, but again, because he was always so far out in front, he had nothing to say except for, I would roll my eyes when he was complaining about his tires while he's 30 seconds ahead of everybody.
Right.
But hearing the back and forth between the two of them is the same.
Yep.
So just that perception is not just on me. They are talking to each other in the same way or about each other.
Yeah.
GP is an angel.
He does his best.
And when Max came out after the pit stop and his radio was just... and GP was like, I know, Max, but it's all right. You did a great job coming out of the exit. And it's like, okay. He doesn't need to be burped,
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
But it was just
kind of do, honestly.
I know he does.
And yeah, so they are just battling back and forth.
The reacted to my move beef that Lando was having, is that not like, what was I didn't understand what he meant by that.
I think basically like you cannot, like when someone goes for a move, Max is then like is moving based off of his move, which is like dangerous.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And like trying to cover him off.
I see. To me, it just felt like defensive, but I understand the safety risk.
Yes.
Got it. 10-4.
Then, I mean, we might be skipping, and
it's
I mean,
fine.
You guys know we record this right after the race, so there's lots of things we're working through. Then all of a sudden, contact with like 6 laps to go, and my jaw literally fell to the floor. I was like,
yeah.
oh my God.
Right. Well, and it was right after Lando got the black and white flag.
Yes.
So I was just kind of like, oh, that's going to be annoying. He's going to get a penalty and he's not going to win. Whatever.
Yeah.
Then it was way worse than that.
Yes. Crazy. So Lando gets a puncture. Max also gets a puncture, but Lando had some more damage.
Yeah.
Lando ends up retiring the car.
Mm-hmm.
Max gets back to the pits, and comes back out. Crazy that he basically did a lap with a puncture. He then has a pit stop, and he still comes out ahead of Checo.
And I was just 5th place. It's crazy. Ahead of Checo. I hadn't even gotten there.
Checo?
Checo.
Oh,
I was giggling so much.
Add another name to the list.
Well, I'm adding Crackers.
It's going to get so long. He's going to have like 9 names.
Yeah, no, Crackers is just when I'm annoyed with him. So
Crackers.
It's just going to be Crackers.
I was joking on, I think, last week's podcast that if someone like jumped into our podcast halfway through and was hearing us call him Checo, they'd be like, these girls are dumb.
And maybe we are.
They don't know the lore.
No,
they don't know the
Checo lore. You shared that, right? People have now seen the video.
Yes,
I
yes,
thought so.
Yes. So Max gets a penalty, a 10-second penalty.
Which didn't affect him, right?
No, because he was still far enough ahead of Nico, I believe, to prevent that.
It's incredible that you can do that with your brain.
What do you mean?
Remember where people are.
Oh.
I literally have to take photos of the screen so that I can remember. It's good job.
Thanks. But this is honestly like, Max, again, we said, hasn't really raced wheel to wheel. And this is how Max can be sometimes. And we saw, obviously we know how he was back in a couple years ago with Lewis.
Yep.
He can get a little testy. He can get a little aggressive. And that's what makes Max great, but it can also bite him in the ass.
Totally.
And this is also why people have been talking about Max and Lando should be teammates.
No.
This is why they cannot be teammates.
I also think that Lando, like my guess is, and if I was Lando, like you've been with McLaren this long. Yeah. Why would you leave when it starts getting good?
Totally.
Just to go and totally readjust to everything.
I just mean more so this is why Max cannot have a teammate that is like comparable.
Yeah.
Because it just could get bad. It could get bad. But then because of this, because of the punctures and the pit stops, who bumps into first place George Russell? And we honestly hadn't even heard. I don't think they talked about George once on the broadcast.
Not much. I mean, yeah,
a little bit here and there, but like he was not. There was not really any sort of conversation surrounding him. And now all of a sudden, boom, P1
winner.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. George Russell wins his second race in Formula One.
Toto, when he came on and he was like, what did he say? George, you can win this thing. It's like, yeah. Obviously. And I kind of thought for a second Oscar might
do it.
I
kind of wanted Oscar to win.
I did too.
But also, I think we have to remind ourselves, like, George had his first win. It's his second win. And you'll take what you can get.
Sure.
I kind of feel like for Oscar...
That's not how he wants to win
well,
it.
He might not care. But I think there's something about, like, really earning your first win and not being gifted your first win because the two front runners end up having a
that's incident. A good point, because we said the same about Logan's points.
Oh.
And I don't mean it to be disparaging, but just in the, like, he was excited, but also, like, it's a bummer that it was because of a technicality.
Right, exactly. So George ends up winning the race. Yabba dabba doo.
You guys, the man delivers content, like, and
yabba dabba
on
doo.
accident, he does. Yabba dabba doo. I think I love him so much, but what's mind-boggling to me is that was top of mind. Like, saying yabba dabba doo was natural as can be. I haven't thought about that phrase from the Flintstones in decades.
And again, to go back to the ick conversation, but see, this is my point, which is that it doesn't give me an ick. I have totally accepted George for who he is and his crazy sayings, and I love it about him, but it is not... But the way that I feel about George is so...
It's more like, aw, George.
It's so cannot be compared to the others. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
It's like very similar to Yuki in a sense, where Yuki doesn't ever give me... I mean, Yuki can say, like, if he said yabba dabba doo, I'm not going to be like...
Yeah, and he wouldn't, because... I don't think he's probably seen the Flintstones.
Maybe
but
he is.
I know what you're saying.
Anyway, everyone's in different like categories, you know?
Absolutely.
The other thing I wanted to just discuss was Nico beating Checo to the line. You guys, I mean, listen, Haas was strong this weekend. We got to give him cred. But come on, bro.
It's pretty interesting.
It was tough. Credit to Nico.
100%.
But
we're just, we're comparing and contrasting the Red Bulls.
Yeah.
When we say that. It's not like, Nico obviously pulled it out. It's more just like, what's going on?
And I know there are people who are like, these girls hate Checo. And again, we've said it. We don't hate Checo.
No,
and actually,
I'm confused.
We respect and love Checo for the content and what he provides to the sport because it is very entertaining. It's just confusing. And it also, for me, and again, you can't look back necessarily, but it does make me frustrated for the drivers of the past who have not gotten the same leniency and whatever that Checo has been.
And part of me wonders if like Max has a big say in him sticking around.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know what I mean? And so like, it's just, he's easier. And I think that that's crap if that's like part of the, if that is part of the reason that he was re-signed, but
it's tough go.
Business decisions. Because really the alternatives for anyone that is already in an F1 that would be getting a seat, the dynamic would turn out to be like a Lando Max kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Like Pierre and Esteban on steroids.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's expensive.
Yeah. Very true. Lando got driver of the day again. Mm-hmm. So he's just racking those up left and right.
Well, and also since we think that maybe people hear our call and listen to what we have to say and make changes, not really. I kind of wish you said this before we started recording, but driver of the day shouldn't close till the race is over.
Yeah.
Because I voted for Lando and then I wouldn't have.
Right.
I would have maybe switched it to Oscar or something.
Yeah, totally.
But
it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's a popularity contest. We already know this for the most part. It's a popularity contest, and Lando, he's essentially a member of One Direction driving in Formula One.
Absolutely.
The fandom is strong with him and the Gen Z crowd and others as well, but particularly, and therefore he is getting himself lots of those votes. Anything else from the race itself? I know we'll get into like some of the questions and stuff.
Yeah, I was confused about the virtual safety car. Do you know why that happened?
I think it was because of the punctures.
Was there?
I think they thought maybe like they weren't going to get back into the pits.
Oh, okay. It just seemed like it happened a little bit later, but like I would have thought it would have happened like kind of more instantaneously, but
I don't know.
I shouldn't be surprised by that at this point. I think that was all.
Okay. Just a note on our draft. So let's just go through these points really quickly. So Lando, he qualified second in the sprint quali, right? And I believe we decided, we said we would do half points for that.
Yes.
So I think 4 would get you pole. So 3.5 points from the sprint quali. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And I can obviously go back and double check all of this. Then in the sprint race, he got
third.
So that's 8 points.
Sure.
Because we do 10.
Yep.
Or no, just kidding. We do the same points as the sprint, and if you get first in the sprint, you get 8 points.
Okay.
So he got 6.
Okay.
And then he qualified. We do points for quali.
Hold on, I have that on here too.
He qualified second.
Yeah, duh.
So that's 9. And then, so you still did well. The fact that it was a
could have been worse.
Yeah, the fact that it was a sprint weekend helped you out. And then I had Kevin, and I don't think he qualified in the top 10 and anything, but
got out in Q2.
But the race he got 8th, so that's 4 points. Okay. Should we draw for next week?
Yeah,
and then we can. And I just want to. Well, but before you do that, let me just make sure if you've had any double. If you've had anyone twice, you've had George, Lewis, Max, Daniel, Fernando, Charles, Pierre, Oscar, Kevin, Nico, Lando. You have not had anybody twice, as far as I can tell.
Didn't you have someone twice?
Yeah, so I had Nico, Yuki, Charles, Valtteri, Checo, Alex, Joe, Daniel, Land. I've had Joe twice, so I cannot get Joe again.
Well, that's happy.
I know, sad. Okay, I am drawing for Silverstone. Valtteri. Fuck.
Sorry. Or, something wild could happen.
Something wild could happen.
Oh, Nico.
Okay. I think that might be your last Nico. Yeah, you've had Nico twice now.
Okay. It's been fun.
And that was my second Nico. Valtteri as well, so I can't have Valtteri again. Okay. Now for our word of the race. So technically, based off of what we've done before, we have to go with B for the British Grand Prix.
No.
That's what we've been doing. Now you can give an S as well, but you have to give a B.
No one says British Grand
Prix. They do in fact say the British Grand Prix. I have a word. I'll go first.
Well, yeah, because you prepared.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Well, I had a word if it was S, but anyway.
Ballsy.
Okay.
Ballsy British Grand Prix. I want someone to really go for it.
Okay. I will echo the sentiment and go with bold. Have I said bold before?
I don't think we've had a B, have we?
I don't. Well,
we've had Barcelona, but that was technically Spain. So.
Oh, right.
You can use bold.
And then I had originally said silly in Silverstone. I just want to see.
Oh, for silly season?
That I want some answers.
Yeah.
And then I also just feel like something's going to be weird.
Amok.
And it's going to be because someone's really bold that we're not anticipating.
And ballsy.
Well, yeah.
What's crazy too is now we've had 4 teams have won races this season. Isn't that crazy? And I think are we halfway through the season yet?
Couldn't tell you.
Let me see if I can remember all these races. Okay.
Yeah,
we did Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Australia, Japan, China, Miami, Imola, Monaco, Montreal, Spain, Austria. That's 11 races. And there's 24. So next week will be the halfway point. That'll be the 12th race of the season.
And then what's after Silverstone?
I don't know the order, but it's I think it's Hungary and then Spa. And then we have summer break. So we have 3 more races until summer break.
Okay. What do we call the Hungary race?
Hungary.
It is Hungary.
Yeah.
So it's an H word.
It's an H. And then for Spa, I mean, I think we technically say the Belgian Grand Prix.
Okay.
So it's another B. I know it's unfortunate that we have these, like Monza is technically the Italian Grand Prix. We're going to have to say It's going to have to be an
Igloos.
Yeah. That's good.
Igloos in Italy. Also, speaking of Spa, I saw that Ash was there, which I'm just jealous of, but also she does so much cool stuff. And I literally could never stream and talk about the sport.
No, crazy. There was a bad crash there too. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't. At the same spot that there always is a crash.
I don't know if it was the same spot, but
are they okay?
Yeah, they're okay. Let's do fan info and then let's get to the questions.
Okay. My fan. Well, it was really nice that my dad was like kind of working, kind of watching, but it was nice to watch the race with my mom today, and like it was cute when she was like asking questions.
That is very sweet.
And I think she did it because I always watch K basketball with her.
That's sweet.
Even though I don't know what's going on.
Does she like anybody? Like, does she have a favorite? I mean,
Carlos.
I know it's okay.
And she loves Daniel.
Oh, she does.
But mostly because I love Daniel. I mean, I think she appreciates Daniel, but there wasn't a lot to say about Daniel this time around.
He did good points though.
Yeah, but we weren't really like, there wasn't a chatter really about him. And then she said something about Max. I can't remember. I was saying something about Max and she was just like, I think she was like talking crap on him when he was like, being bratty on the radio or whatever. I was like, Mom, don't talk crap. And she was like, why? I didn't think you like him. I was like,
oh my God.
Max is my favorite driver. And she's like, but you always get so mad when he wins all the time. I'm like, yeah, because it's boring.
Yeah.
Anyway, but then we have some stuff coming up that I'm very excited for. Mm-hmm. And all will be revealed in
the fullness of time.
Thank you. I knew it was time, but I could not remember the first word. So,
my fan, it's very basic, but it was the Max and Lando battle.
Yeah,
it was
fun.
very, very fun to see them, fighting each other, battling each each other. And I'm not gonna lie, like I did kind of enjoy the fact that they both got the puncture. Like it was, I enjoy both of them. I like both of them, but I'm not invested in them to the point where it was going to be like a devastating result for me.
Like if that was Daniel and Max or Daniel and Lando, Daniel and anyone, you would have been weeping. We would have had to wait 2 hours to record.
I actually was happy about it because it made Daniel got extra points. Mm-hmm. So thanks, Lando. Thanks, over
boys.
The team.
Do you think they're going to fly different planes probably instead of riding together?
Did they even fly the same plane?
Sometimes they do, like when they're doing these triple headers, but I feel like they're definitely...
Daniel's going to have to be the mediator between Max and Lando. And also Daniel knows a thing or two about, having some on-track kerfuffle with Max.
I also feel like Max and Lando kind of get over it pretty quickly.
We'll see. I know. They haven't had this type of situation before.
I know.
So... We'll have to find out.
Praying for them.
Okay, so and then my foe is just the fact that my dad wasn't here to watch George win. That's a bummer. I know. He would have been very happy for that.
Yeah. And I cannot wait to hear. Has he said anything about the Yabba Dabba Doo?
No.
Keep me posted when he does. I really want to hear how he feels about it.
Maybe, Dad, if you're listening, which I know you are, just
text me.
text us and let us know your thoughts on the Yabba Dabba Doo.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else before we get to the questions?
Well, I was going to give my foe.
Oh, sorry. I thought you could give your foe.
I had a great time away, but it's really hard to jump back into this world after not really paying attention for a week. And then for it to be a sprint weekend was a little tough.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to be back. It's wonderful. And then just that I miss Crofty I literally wrote, I miss Crofty when he's gone. Harry Benjamin's great, though.
I do miss. I mean, and part of it is that we've been raised on Crofty, like he's our comfort announcer.
God, I don't know. I literally just thought about when he retires. And Martin retire.
Don't even
get me
started.
Dark day.
I mean, maybe Nico Rosberg will fill in for one of them.
I can't.
In the Martin role.
Yes, I just worry about him becoming. Too much.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
And Crofty seemed to be a really good balance, so it would have to be like
someone that can
chemistry test.
Totally.
Which I'm just not sure if ESPN does that. They might, but I'm not sure.
Sky Sports.
Right.
Yeah. Sky Sports.
Potato tomato. I don't.
Yeah, it's the same difference.
I feel like Sky Sports is less likely to do chemistry reads than ESPN.
Yeah. Okay. Getting to your questions. Someone said, "How did Lando end up last?" Well. He DNF'd because of the puncture, unfortunately. Who do you think was in the wrong, Max or Lando?
I think it was Max.
It was Max, properly penalized for the incident.
But it very easily could have been Lando if, it happened.
Yeah.
Just, it was bound to be, this is a dumb thing to say. I was going to say it was bound to be one of them.
Yeah.
Duh. 50-50 chance.
It's ironic that George's 2 wins have come from those in front crashing into each other. That is true. Yeah. He has gotten, part of Formula One, we say this all the time. It's just about being in the right position to take up the points or the podiums or the wins when other people make a mistake.
Yeah.
And, sometimes I think it's easy for people to be like, he didn't earn that or whatever. But part of it is just being at the right place in the right time. And that's how you can get points and podiums and wins. So
that's true. Also, seeing Toto have joy again was really nice.
I know. And Fred and Toto, they were really,
cute.
Bonding.
Because I am devastated that I missed Lewis's podium.
It was tough. I mean,
for me.
For you. Yeah. I was very really happy sad. For Lewis.
How was he doing? Was he so excited?
He was very happy. Yeah. I mean, he seemed happy.
But was he neutral about kind of chill about it or?
He was happy, but he wasn't like, oh my God.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
There wasn't confetti cannons or anything?
Yeah. Yeah, no. Who were your true drivers of the day? You said Oscar?
Well, yeah.
I think Oscar's a good call.
Yeah. I think in hindsight now, after what happened, but I did actually literally vote for Lando before that happened.
I think Oscar's a good call, obviously starting in P7 and coming in second.
We should start adding that, doing our actual driver.
Yeah, and I also said Nico Hülkenberg. Yeah. I thought he had a really strong race. And again, didn't really do anything crazy, but just picked up the pieces when and kept off Checo. So props to Nico.
Yeah.
Was the 10-second penalty all they could have given Max? Seemed light. I mean, yeah.
Probably.
There's not really, I don't know. Hans Zimmer on the podium. Yeah, that was interesting.
Well, it was funny when I think George like sprayed him in the face with champagne. I was like, I don't know what the rules are on that, but Hans Zimmer maybe shouldn't be.
Can we talk about how Perez rams someone almost every race, but kept the RB seat? Did he ram someone this week?
Probably.
Weekend? I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either, but it's definitely within the realm of possibility.
I mean, again, we can go. I mean, we can talk about this Checo seat every which way.
I think the easiest thing is it's team peace.
It's team peace, and it's just, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't really have like an answer. I will be curious if this continues. How much longer can this continue before people start really
1 year
asking? No, I think it's even.
And maybe, but I don't think he's not getting into his second year of his next contract.
But I'm saying, let's say the next 3 or 4 races he's in this position.
You think they just caught him?
I don't know. And I'm not even saying this will happen because, again, like we've said so many times, all it takes is next week.
Yeah, him to
Checo
like second
getting on the
win.
Podium,
mm-hmm.
and it's all back to normal, and it's totally fine. So it really just takes one good performance from him for everything to change. But like I read on Twitter that Checo hasn't qualified in the top 5 since Miami.
Wow. Daniel
has qualified in the top 5 more recently than Checo.
Fascinating.
Yeah. That's over a month ago.
I hope he's doing okay. Like, sometimes when this happens with athletes, I'm like, is something going on in your life that's like in your head? And
well, he always just seems to not. I feel like he does well. The tracks early on in the season seem to be like the ones that he tends to do well. And then for whatever reason, Europe is just not his friend. Like he just struggles with these European tracks for some reason. So maybe when they get back to Singapore and Austin, Mexico, well, hopefully Mexico, he can.
Well, sometimes I think about this in wildly with another sports analogy, but like with KU basketball, it's like there are some seasons that I just feel like they're playing like absolute trash, and then they win the national championship. So you just never know.
Right.
Everyone can make a comeback.
Yes, exactly.
Even Crackers, Checo, Clackers, Sergio.
We gotta have the whole. We gotta get another bear. No, another bear that we name
Clackers.
The whole thing. Checo,
but like, what do we call him for
Clackers.
short? Just whatever's on our mind that day.
I think we have to call him Checo.
Yeah, okay. But the birth certificate will have the whole name.
The whole name, yeah, exactly. Thoughts on Yabba Dabba Doo as a new celebratory cheer? George ate with that.
Thank you. Yes, yes, he did. Maybe I should that should be my next comms pop socket.
Yeah. Not just Austria related, but what do you think of the future? What do you think the future is of Danny Rick? I think he definitely it sounds like they're going to make a decision over the summer break. Mm-hmm. That's when they're going to make their choice. So I think it's really important for him to perform well these next 3 races. I think if he continues doing what he's been doing, I think he will keep the seat. Mm-hmm. Like if he keeps getting points, he keeps performing well. But he needs to perform well in these next 3 races. Yeah. If he doesn't, then it wouldn't shock me if they choose to replace him with Liam.
I agree.
Wouldn't shock me.
And it would be a bit of a bummer, but I also think like Liam deserves, at least I feel happy to know that like Liam has been in the car, does a good job, and like deserves the seat, and it's not some random that I have no
connection to or like really know about. Yeah.
Not that that matters.
I feel the way that I think most people, well, I shouldn't say most people, lots of people have like strong opinions either way. I very much feel like it's just going to be what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And I know that's not like a crazy answer, but I don't know.
And it does help that he's just like he's frustrated, but he's not as miserable as he once was.
Oh, totally.
And so it's an easier ending if that's what it is.
Oh yeah, this is a thing we kind of didn't talk about, but we should. What were your thoughts about what Yuki said on his radio and giving a fine is enough or not? Yeah, we went to talk about that.
We were talking about this before we started recording, and I
should just say just for in case anyone didn't see it. So it was during qualifying. Yeah, it was during qualifying. Yuki was on the radio and he said the R word. Mm-hmm. He called, I'm not even sure who it was in front of him.
Yeah, I think it was
the R word, which obviously is not okay and should never be used. And that's like unacceptable language. And it got brought to the stewards and he was fined $40,000 or 40,000 euros for saying that word. But they, in like the notes from like the meeting, they said that Yuki was incredibly he was very, very sorry, and that his explanation was like he didn't know the real meaning of the word, and had he known that, he wouldn't have used it, and blah, blah, blah. Now, I think, like we've said a lot of times, multiple things can be true at once. Never okay to use that word, and he should have been punished for that. Like, that's not okay. But also, it's his second language.
Like, we talked about this before we started recording, that it's like, sometimes I hate that excuse because it feels like an excuse and a cop-out.
Yes, exactly.
And I think, when we think about where Yuki learned English, how recently he learned English, the way that word is used when it's being used in a derogatory way is that someone's being stupid or an idiot or whatever.
Yes.
And so if that's the context in which he learned it,
yes,
he has, because no one
for disabled him.
Yeah, for someone who has a mental disability of some, where that word used to be used, it's not used that way anymore. It's only used in a derogatory way, I feel like. So he had there's a very real chance that he actually literally had no idea that it meant what it really means.
Yes.
And so, but I agree. I mean, I think because, in my mind, from the FIA's perspective, even though they don't do this well a lot, it's like, in order to be able to find someone else who does know what they're saying for something like this, you can't not find him because he learned English a handful of years ago,
Right.
So I think it makes sense. I don't know.
I think it's a fair punishment.
Yeah.
I think it's important that the FIA and the stewards, that they let drivers know you cannot use this kind of language. I think fines
that's important. In sports are kind of a crazy thing, though. Like as a punishment, I think there should be ramifications of some kind. The fact that they're benefiting, like, who does the fine go to?
Yeah, I don't know, that's a good question.
Like the charity of your choice? No, it's going to salaries. I don't know. I just think it's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like how a lot of, city budget comes from like speeding tickets and stuff, but it's just like a wild concept that someone in the NFL can like harm someone and pay $50,000 for, the front ticket person's yearly salary. It's just interesting.
Right.
Also, obviously, I have no idea if that's where it goes. I'm sure someone knows what actually happens, but
yeah. So I think and obviously Yuki, he posted an apology to his Instagram, and we know that Yuki will say things on the radio and he'll fly off the handle and whatever. But I also don't think Yuki is someone who would intentionally use language that is offensive.
I can almost see his face too when someone told him, like, like just kind of deer in the headlights, panicked.
I know. So anyway, I think it's fair, and I hope he learns from it and doesn't use it again. Obviously,
I was really thrown off because I just saw a headline for language, and I was like, Yuki curses all the time, and then I was like, oh.
On a positive note for Yuki, loved his denim on denim look.
Do you think Joe's giving him fashion pointers?
Well, he was wearing Hugo, which is like the sponsor of RB.
Yeah, fair.
Maybe he's just like getting more comfortable with just being himself and showing off his fashion. But I thought that was a great.
Yeah, honestly, look. His like fashion game is so unexpected, but he's doing a fantastic.
He's doing a wonderful job. Invite him to freaking Fashion Week.
Met.
That would be so good.
Put him in the Met.
Invite Yuki to the Met. Cowards.
He will quite literally be this. Well, actually, no.
You think
I was going to say he'll be the smallest person there, and then I thought about how many like celebrity women are actually very short, but
like Sabrina Carpenter.
Heels. Yeah,
she's quite small.
Mm-hmm. She's quite small.
And then we'll end on this. Do we think that Max and Lando's friendship will survive this?
I really hope so.
We listened to Lando's post race interview. We have yet to listen to Max's. We'll do that when we finish here. So I don't know what Max said post race, but I think it will. I just think we could be verging into a Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton situation because that was build up over time, multiple instances of them having problems.
It does help that they're not on the same team because they're not being, there's not team orders.
There's not favoritism and that kind of stuff.
So I think that helps. And I also think I feel like they're both the first to give accolades when the other one does better. And they, and I know that's a lot of mostly like, PR stuff, but, I'm cautious.
Yes. I think they will be fine. I just think we need to be on alert if this is a reoccurring situation.
Yeah, head on a swivel.
Head on a swivel, and we will have to wait and see. I mean, we were not fans in 2018 when Max and Daniel had the Baku ramming into the back of each other. I mean, they literally crashed and destroyed each other's cars, and they're, thick as thieves.
Yeah, right.
Did you see Daniel posted that video recap from Spain? And he had different, this is gonna be too not complicated, but you have to see it. But basically it was like a vlog from Spain, and he had different people in it speaking to the camera in their native language.
Okay.
And then but Daniel clearly put subtitles that were not
Daniel didn't put them there.
But yeah, but they weren't what they actually were saying. So
funny.
Max was speaking in Dutch, and the subtitles were Baku was my fault, you're my favorite, or something to that effect.
That's brilliant.
But then Max, and in the clip, Max reveals afterwards, he's like, do you know what I said? And he was like, no. And he was like, Max, or what Max said was, Daniel is a very horny man, and he has a lot of women that are going to be coming after him this weekend.
Oh, wow. Intimate.
Yeah, I'll show you that as well after
That's
this.
very funny.
So anyway, very so they're clearly fine.
Yeah, right.
is the point.
Yeah.
And so I think other teams can be, Yuki and Pierre had their fair share of little scuffles over the years, and obviously they're about
Yuki's
to
in love with them.
get married. So
Platonically. Yeah.
Platonically in love. Also, did you see Pierre? Basically, he was asked about Yuki, and he was like, I really hope he was considered for the Red Bull seat. He was he deserves it. He was really fighting.
Like Jason Statham.
He was really fighting for Yuki.
That's nice.
I know.
Especially because he knows what it's like to be in the Red Bull seat.
Yep.
But he still knows his friend deserves a chance.
Deserves a chance.
Quite honestly, Max and Yuki can't be teammates.
Literally.
Someone would be killed.
But though, would they be close on track though, you think? I think sometimes they might be, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think sometimes they're not as consistently as Max and Lando.
Yuki would definitely be closer than Crackers. At least in Europe.
At least in Europe. Yeah, exactly. Crackers. I'm not going to get used to that.
It's just one.
No, I know. It just sounds so, so derogatory.
Oh.
To a white person.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. It was just an autocorrect, and I keep picturing Ritz Crackers.
I know.
Right, I can stop calling them crackers.
Anyway, said with love, of course.
Yeah, obviously. Please don't find me $20,000.
I won't.
I simply don't have that
for the podcast. All right. Anything else before we wrap it up here?
No.
Okay.
It's good to be back.
It's good to be back.
Thank you for holding down the fort while I was away. Can't thank you enough.
Of course.
And to our friends who co-hosted.
Yes.
Namaste.
Namaste. We will be back with a pyramid for tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. And then obviously next weekend, Silverstone. We're on 2 years of Through Goes Hamilton, and I'd really like us to get back to Through Goes Hamilton.
I'm also excited to see what celebs are going to be at Silverstone.
Yep, celebrities. I'm
bummed Taylor's not in London when it happened.
I know. Well, and also she plays on weekends too, so it's just not ever really going to work out. Yeah, I am hopeful that it will deliver in the way that it has delivered for us in the past.
I think so. And we
get in there, Lewis.
We have friends my friend Macy's going with her fiance.
She should give boots on the ground reporting.
I'm hoping that she will, and also just insight on how to attend, and I can maybe get some see what they're doing and report back on the recap for anyone who's interested in attending in the future.
Yes,
us.
Exactly. Thank you so much for listening to the pod, for being a trusty supporter of fan behavior. 2 years in, we couldn't do it without you guys, literally. And we will
look how far we've come. It used to be a poster board.
It used to be janky as hell, and now we're living large.
YouTube pays us.
Yeah, exactly. I guess so.
So subscribe.
All right, guys, we will see you next week. Enchante.